We got breaking news right now. DeVonta Smith, speaking of it, right? 3 years, $75 million, right? So that shows you with the Eagles.
Right.
The Eagles now
Good timing.
are paying DeVonta Smith more than the guy who is, to me, one of the 5 best receivers in football, and A.J. Brown, and is in a special class of guys.
That's crazy.
DeVonta Smith, I've had these. DeVonta Smith, I think, is a little better than people realize even right now. I do. I think he's an extremely good route runner. But DeVonta Smith, again, is one of those guys we talk about, hey, he can run by people down the field, and you could throw the ball, and he can either beat them with his speed or he can jump up and catch it. He is phenomenal that way. But getting big-time number 1 money here, I mean, really with actual value of this contract, DeVonta Smith's going to be the highest paid receiver in football.
Wow.
Here, because we had a long conversation about this today with Florio, Connor. Like, Tyreek Hill's $30 million a year average. It's like 24 and change,
right.
really.
It's the structure of it.
The $45 million last year of the contract that makes it that. DeVonta Smith is like 23 and change, right? So none of them are what they appear that they actually are. This right here is flat out 3 years, $75 million. Right, so this
after the 5th year option, which is
year,
almost 16 mil.
That's what I mean. We're getting, yeah. So
basically, $100 million receiver.
Basically that, and you're right. He's got the 5th year option, so they're counting that into this, right? So it's basically going to be a 4-year. Now $92 million type of deal, right? That's kind of how they're valuing it, I guess, is exactly how it's going, because I don't think they're tearing up the 5th year option.
They will not.
No.
So he will come out of that with about, I believe, 67-ish guaranteed.
Wow.
It's a great deal for him.
Right.
Take the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, great guarantees.
Yeah, it's almost 23 a year.
And we still don't have a Justin Jefferson deal. We don't have a T. Higgins deal. They're going to get Chase done. We know that eventually.
Right. Here's Jefferson and Chase are going to wait to the last second, because both of those guys know they have their team, right? They know they're going to get paid. It's just about how much and which one of those two is going to be the top paid guy. And there is a legitimate competition between those two. So that is a real thing. One's going to want to get, I signed a $30 million a year contract, and the next guy is going to go, I'll take $30 million and $1 just to say I'm the highest paid. I mean, they're literally like that. But, yeah, everybody's waiting for that. Now, these other guys, I'm going to be interested to see where this goes.
CeeDee Lamb is fascinating.
CeeDee Lamb, Ayuk, and T. Higgins, to me, are all in the same book, right? I said this a little last week to Florio, right? Because I don't know exactly what they're asking for, but I got to think like Brandon Ayuk's going, wait, Debo's making $22 million a year. I had a better year. I want more than $22 million, right? I got to think that. T. Higgins, I would think, is somewhere along those lines. CeeDee Lamb's looking at his year going, wait, I want to be paid like the top guy in the market, right? All of that. I'm not as high on those guys as maybe the rest of the world is. I like CeeDee Lamb. Don't get me wrong. But again, I don't think he's in the class of Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, or A.J. Brown. I feel like those guys, you don't need to organize any plays for them. You just go, if he's man-to-man outside, throw him the ball. Right? CeeDee Lamb, you can do that some of the time, but I think he needs a little system help a little bit. He's not just going to catch a slant and run 70 like the other guys we just mentioned are, or just run by somebody for a 70-yard bomb, right? Still really good. I'm certainly not trying to take it away from them. But that, to me, is going to be the interesting thing here, and where I keep bringing this up, and Pete and Matt Casey have heard me talk about this behind the scenes, and I talked about this with Florio today. Like, if I'm these teams, I'm calling these guys bluffs. I'm calling their bluff. Like, hey, you're really good. We like you. We'd like to pay you this. It's not it's not the number one receiver money. Like, I mean, top of the market, but it's really close to the top guys or right up there with the top guys, right? Right? You got to draw a line to me. And to me, the thing I've been saying all week, right? If I'm the 49ers or the Cowboys, I would call their bluffs and go, agent, call around teams. Tell me who's going to give us a trade package then.
Right.
If he's so much what you're talking about, right? Because the last guy that was in this scenario, A.J. Brown, he was in this scenario. They went, here's a 17th pick, and we know we have to pay him because he's A.J. Brown. We'll do that. That's how good he is, right? So these guys want that type of money. Well, show me that type of deal. Show me that the league values them like A.J. Brown or some of these other guys are valued. See, and I think they're putting their value a little higher than where the league actually values them, and that's where I think you're going to see them drag their feet on this a little bit, these teams, until they get it figured out.
That's the issue of why first-round picks don't often get traded anymore, because of you have to also factor in the contract. And this is a totally different position, but look at the Brian Burns trade. Brian Burns got traded for a second-round pick.
Yeah.
Because the Giants had to pay him.
Right.
You can't trade a first-rounder and have to take on the salary cap hit. You can do it.
Or you better be special.
Or you bet. Right. A.J. Brown's a great callback to it. Obviously, the Bills did it a couple years ago with Diggs.
Right.
Minnesota then drafted Justin Jefferson.
Right. But you got to be that guy. You got to be like, okay, we're sold. We're willing to pay him. We know it. He's it. Bam.
Right.
Do it. Right. And I don't think there's that type of market for Ayuk, T. Higgins, or CeeDee Lamb. Right, and that's to me where it'll be interesting. And Florio brought this up today, which I thought was a great point. T. Higgins got franchised; he's in year 5. The other guys have to do the 5th-year option because they were in the first-round pick. It actually screws you over to be drafted in the first round because of the 5th-year option thing. Where that doesn't sound right when you say that out loud. That doesn't sound right. Right? Hey, you're better. The league viewed you as better. And now we're going to make you wait longer to actually get money, big money, and be more of a free enterprise, right? That doesn't make sense. They need to fix that. That's seriously messed
up.
The
NFL collective bargaining agreement is unbelievable when you look at it sometimes.
Yeah, the owners always win.
They always win.
With
the franchise tags, the 5th-year option.
Right.
Basically, the security teams get. This is good timing from Elliott Wilkinson.
Perfect.
Do you think the 49ers should pay Ayuk or let him go? I think they should let him go just because of the price. Plus, with the amount of good receivers coming out of the draft now, I would only pay top-end money to guys like Hill, Chase, and Jefferson. It's kind of what you just said.
I feel the league, I've had enough conversations with people. I feel like the league is changing a little bit. I do. I think it's finally, like I've said a little bit, like teams are stopping negotiating against themselves. Right, where they're like, oh, because we drafted him and we liked him and he's our guy. Like we're gonna pay him top tier money, even though he's not a top tier player. I think that's gone on a little too much, right? Where it's like, hey, here's $20 million. No, here's 21. I didn't even ask for 21. No, we want to give it to you. Like, there's some of that going on in the league right now where you're like, who is going to pay them that? Why are you doing that?
Taysom Hill contract?
Right. Why are you doing that? Like, I argued this with like Blake Bortles and the Jaguars when they gave him an extension. I was like, why did you give him that much money? Who else was going to? Show me. It'd be the same thing I would say with like Tua and his contract and some of these. Don't overpay him. Who is going to go out and steal Daniel Jones with the Giants? Who are we worried about that someone was going to pay him $45 million a year? Nobody? Right? Nobody. Why did we do that? If we would have offered Daniel Jones $34 million a year, was he going to say no? I bet you not. Like, again, so that's what I'm saying with this, and I agree with Elliott Wilkinson a little bit. Like, the league's got to stop doing this, even at the quarterback position. Are you Patrick Mahomes? No, you're not. Then you make less than that. That's just the way it is. Sorry. The money will go to other guys in the roster. But I think I kind of tend to believe with the 49ers, Connor, Debo's being paid like a top receiver. Kittle's being paid like a top tight end. McCaffrey's paying the top running back. George Kittle's being paid like the top tight end, right? They're paying Javon Hargrave the top 5 D tackle money. You're paying Nick Bosa the highest paid defensive player in football. Fred Warner's a top 3 linebacker contract, right? They better watch out, or they're going to be in Ramsville here, where their team's
Trent Williams has to.
Trent Williams is up there. Yeah, did I not say him? I'm
no,
sorry.
Yeah, but
top tier of the market, right? So you look at that, I go, they're worried. I'm worried about them being in Ramsville of having this extremely top-heavy football team with no depth and all of that. And, yeah, I mean, I don't know. If I'm Shanahan and the 49ers, somebody offers me for a first-round pick for Ayuk, I'm probably going to take it. I am, because, again, that's just, man, that's a lot of big-money players.
Charvarius Ward
is up there.
$18.4 million
there you
cap
go.
hit.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's where this is going to be interesting with the Ayuk thing, because I can certainly see his side of going, wait, I want to be paid like this. Debo's making this. I'm better than Debo right now. I showed you guys that. And what I said to Florio today, because we had a little of this conversation, is Debo has got to scare the Niners a little bit. Debo got exposed a little towards the end of the year with teams that know how to play man-to-man. Debo can't separate like Ayuk can. But Debo yet can do the speed sweeps, the reverses, the screens, and be so special there. So they got to figure this out a little bit. But this has a potential to be a real problem for them.
Do you think it's a situation where they try to get through this year with Ayuk
I feel
as
like
is,
that's what they're trying
and then
to do.
move on from Debo?
Maybe.
Debo's guaranteed
Right.
money ends after this
year.
year.
Right.
So then it's like, okay, now we move all that money to Ayuk.
I feel like something like that, or at least at the very least, I feel like holding it all together just for one more run here at the Super Bowl, right? But what you're saying to me makes a lot of sense. I think Ayuk is a better all-around wide receiver than Deebo Samuel. I love Deebo, don't get me wrong. Love his attitude, his physicality, and all that. But like we saw, right? I mean, in the Super Bowl, he can't separate from guys like L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie. They were all over him like white on rice, right? And that would bother me, especially as he gets older and more beat up and not quite as fast and strong and explosive. So, these three wide receivers are going to be very interesting. But I think that's what the Bengals are doing too. They're just trying to kick the can down the road one more. Hey, the Super Bowl window's open. Let's keep this damn good receiver here with us so we can, still be one of the top teams in football.
And it feels like Debo, after this year, he'll turn 29 in January. It's a different 29 with the hits he's taken.
It's a beat-up physical, right. It's a running back-ish / receiver type body.
That's what you have to keep in mind.
Right.
It's not all 29s are the same at receiver.
Definitely not. Yo, homies, what's up? I know it's the offseason, but it's never the offseason on Chris Simms Unbuttoned. Me and Ahmed Fareed are going to be here for it all. We got free agency. We're going to break it all down. The draft, the rankings of positions. Of course, we're going to unpack it all. Hit subscribe, get to my free agency reactions, 2024 draft rankings, and more. Thanks again for watching. Peace out, homies. See you soon.